Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. I am Vorm, and this is Heads Will Roll Reforged. So this will be a new game we're taking a look at on the channel. This will be a first look. I have done a little bit of research into the game. I know what to expect. I know the basic underpinnings of how the systems work and the structure of the game flow, but I have no real direct experience with the gameplay other than jumping in and hitting a few buttons to make sure things work and fiddling around a bit. So this will be a first playthrough, a first look. Depending on how it catches my attention, we may continue, we may not. It also depends on your interest, of course. Now, a couple things I want to bring up right up front. Full disclosure, so you know my biases and preferences. Longtime users can probably guess what's coming. This game is a medieval RPG survival combat simulator. We're going to be taking on the role of a conscripted soldier in the English army during the 100 Years' War with France, and we're going to be engaging in combat, one-to-one combat, sometimes 1-to-2 or however many combat, in a very tactically crunchy and apparently fairly deep and nuanced combat system with lots of different weapon styles and skills and a lot of interesting things to take account for and to balance. I'm interested in that part of the gameplay. That's what I'm here for. It also contains visual novel style trappings as well as juvenile waifu 2D, haughty, buxom lady art and romancing. I have zero interest in any of that. Absolutely none. Could care less about it. I don't care about the story and what hackneyed, trite, storyline, connective tissue they're going to put in between all of my tactical, crunchy combat goodness. So I will be skipping lots of storyline dialogue or just skimming it real fast and moving on. And I will probably be doing every possible thing I can to avoid all the silly waifu stuff. So, there you go. You know up front, if you're interested in that kind of stuff and you're excited to see me play it because of that stuff, you're going to be disappointed. So, don't bother. Move along. It's just, I'm here just for the combat, tactical, camp management stuff. That's pretty much it. I've been around way too long, and I've been playing games way too long and reading fantasy and sci-fi hardcore for half a century. There's absolutely nothing in this story that's going to interest me in any way, shape, or form. So I'll engage with it if I have to, and I might read some of it, but most of it's just going to get skipped right past while I play my tactical, crunchy combat game. All right, so now that that's clear, everybody knows what to expect. Let's go ahead and start, and I'll kind of explain a little bit about what I do know, how things work, and we'll see how much fun we can have with Heads Will Roll Reforged. So I'm going to hit New Game. Type in my name. I am the Vormithrax. I don't think we get to pick a choice of pictures here, but whatever. We're level 0. We're level 1. I think this is our profile rank. One of these is our profile rank. This is how many points we need to get to level 1. We are starting as Militiaman, and we have 50 character gen points. Now, across the top, we have various modes. The one and only mode I'm going to be playing is this final one, the Heads Will Roll mode. This is story mode, enemies super weak, combat simplified, lots of gold. It's more storyline stuff than anything, and I don't have any interest in that. Normal mode, less aggressive enemies. You can do stuff, but again, I don't really care. The reason I'm interested in Heads Will Roll is this is the rogue-like system. Very punishing, very hard, but it's got the fail-forward mechanic of roguelikes where you're going to play, try to get as far as you can. You're going to die because you start terrible and weak and you're just going to get slaughtered. But the further you make it through the gameplay, you get awarded points towards your profile. And when you bump back out to this screen, you can start again, but with points that you can use to build a better character. So each time you roll through that process, you'll start with the potential to be stronger and stronger and stronger as you go. And that's the fail-forward roguelite mechanic. So we're going to be playing that mode. As it notes, death is permanent, fair fights, no increased gold rewards, no bonus time in between battles, crafting requires recipes, game saves automatically, meaning you can't save scum, and each death levels up your profile. So let's click that button. Now we have a choice between two options at this point. We can do a random character where it will literally randomly generate one, and we can just hit random over and over and over again, watching the stats that it assigns me randomly and the skills and such. And then when we see one we like, we take it and we go off and running on a new gameplay. And we have it has no connection to how many generation points we have. The random setup is got kind of a small preset, but it's better than trying to create manually with a low number of character gen points. So we're going to need to do the random through, I don't know how many runs. It really depends on how far we make it and how many points we get awarded. But we need to gain some levels and some character gen points. And at a certain point, that will then enable us to create manually characters that are stronger than the random. But for now, we got to go random because it's going to be stronger than what we could do manually. We're not going to engage prestige mode. I probably won't ever. It makes it even harder. We'll see. Depends on how much fun I have and how much interest you guys have. We may turn it on eventually at some point. But there you go. So we're going to go ahead and hit random. Are you sure you want to start a new game? Yes, I am sure. And here we go. So we haven't done anything yet, but you can see the stats. We've got health, stamina. I think it's always 35, 35. Virtue is going to be randomized. Then we've got attributes, strength, agility, endurance, coordination, vitality, and craftsmanship. It notes to the right as I point at them what they kind of control. I'm not going to go into all the details of all the things at this point. I just want to kind of jump in and start playing, and then we'll start dialing down on stuff. Most of it does things you would expect in this kind of a game. I mean, strength, stronger you are, the more you can carry, so you get better inventory quantity, damage done by strength-based attacks, chance of stun and shield bash, damage done to armor, severity of inflicted injuries, that kind of thing. So you get the idea. They match up pretty closely to most RPG/tactical combat kind of games. And then you've got melee weapon skill and crossbow skill. Those are the two main categories. And so you might get some civic talents. Civic talents are like crafting abilities and things like that. So let's go ahead and hit roll random. There's no limit to the number of times I can hit roll random. I'm going to keep hitting it until I see certain number of points applied, because it's going to vary wildly. Usually, I think the lowest I've seen is 2 or 3 between these main categories. And I've seen upwards of, I think I saw one roll one time as I sat here and just hitting re-roll over and over again just to kind of get a feel for it. I think I saw one that had like 11. And I only saw that once. Generally, I'm probably going to end up being happy with something in the 6 or 7 range for points in these categories. But it's also going to depend on talents. It's also going to depend on virtue. And this middle section here is going to spin up some random starting equipment. So what we really want is we want a decent list of starting equipment with certain items in particular that I'm going to look for, and decent stats that kind of go with those items. So there's a few things being evaluated here. I'm just going to hit roll random for a while so you and I can kind of get a look at it. What I'm planning on starting for the character build is an axe and shield as our primary combat items. One-hand axe and shield specifically. And then beyond that, I'm not too picky, but I do want to do axe and shield as our starting gear. So we're hoping for some strength for using the axe effectively. There's no specific skill for shields, I don't believe. But endurance would be good so that we can shield bash and get shield bashed and recover fatigue a bit faster than usual. But yeah, I'm not going to explain any more about the gameplay until we get past this, and then I'll kind of talk about how things work. So let's go ahead and hit roll random, see what we get. Our first set was 3-2 for strength, agility, 1 vitality, 4 melee weapons. That's actually pretty good. Middling virtue, but it didn't give me a starting shield. We might be able to overcome that, but it gave me a starting falchion, a rusty falchion. What else is that? Poor man's pouch, a scabbard, and a bandit's knife. So middling. It wouldn't be a terrible one to take as a first one, but I'm going to keep hitting roll random for a bit. So there's the shield, starting shield. That's what, a club? Yeah, wooden club and poor man's shield. And again, 4 melee, but nothing in the combat abilities or physical attributes. So keep going. Fancy hat, rusty ancient helmet. There's an axe. That's the hand axe. That wouldn't be terrible. That's the one-handed. So it says there, one-handed. Strength required 2, agility 1. We actually don't have... Oh, we do have the strength 2, agility 1. So I think it always, for whatever main weapon it hands you, I think you always have the appropriate strength agility to use that weapon in the slots here. So not quite what I'm looking for, though. 3, 2, 1, 1 with 3 melee weapons. What is... I know the hand axe. Oh, that's the hunter's quiver, but they didn't give us any bow or anything. Iron helm. So hand axe and iron helm with 3, 2, 1 melee. Close, but we got time. We're in no particular hurry. It doesn't cost us anything to keep hitting rerolls, so. Well, hi there, flail. Axe and helmet again. 4, 2 with 1. Oh, that's the woodcutters. That's two-handed. Not quite, so that's why there's no shield included here. I need a one-handed. 4 strength, no melee, one-handed. Oh, nope, woodcutters again. Oh, what do we got? We got hand axe, shield, rusty ancient helmet, poor man's pouch with 4 item capacity, holds consumables and ammunition. That's actually a pretty good setup. Let's go for this for our first one. I'm not as happy about our number of points here. We're getting shorted a little bit on this side of it, but it's got exactly the starting gear that I wanted. It put us very low virtue. So 2, 3, 4, only 5 points up here and no craftsmanship. It's going to be a little rough, but this is good enough for us to just do a kind of demonstration. We're going to die early and often, so, you know, it's not a big deal. All right. Let's go with proceed. I'm going to go ahead and let this roll for this first one so you get kind of the background. A breakout of yet another war between England and France was barely a surprise to anyone. The rivalry between the two kingdoms has lasted for more than a century, and as small but regular armed conflicts have become commonplace for them. This war seemed to many to be an ordinary event, but the English king had other plans. This time he had no interest in lesser goals and aimed as high as to ascend to the throne of France itself, using its ongoing dynasty crisis as a casus belli. War preparations started by Edward III have surpassed any of his past military campaigns. Understanding the scope of his ambitions, the King of England did not delude himself. The war that he was about to embark on was going to be the greatest in history, and for an understanding like that, a proper army was in order. The king began gathering forces long before declaring the war. Long negotiations and uncounted secret agreements bolstered the royal army with numerous allies, as well as mercenaries from all over Europe. The core of his forces, as it has always been, was constituted by the best of England's chivalry, eagerly awaiting their chance to finally outshine the French chevaliers and claim the laurels of the best in the world. For the honorable knights, this coming war was also an opportunity to amass wealth off its spoils and bask in the glory of victorious battle. You too ended up among the ranks of the king's countless soldiers, but unlike the knights and mercenaries eagerly enlisting out of their own will, you, a peasant's son, did not have much of a choice. As beside professional warriors, the army also required those to do its dirty work, both in the meaning of digging ditches and being able to give up their lives for dirt cheap. By royal decree, a militia force was drafted from the free folk. Many wealthier people were able to bribe their way out of service, but you, coming from a poor family, had no such opportunity, and thus you received a royal gift for your 18th birthday, an unexpected journey to the shores of France. Weapon in hand, you suddenly find yourself treading on unfriendly soil. You wonder whether you will ever see your home again. All right, the prologue. A journey begins. Castle Dunkirk. So, welcome to Heads Will Roll Reforged. Soon you will embark on your first adventure, but before you do it, we have to warn you, not all risks are worth taking and not all fights are worth fighting. Blindly charging forward without considering the circumstances and consequences is the fastest way to get yourself killed. Heads Will Roll will try to present the player with a lot of difficult choices, but your answers will never be right or wrong. There's always something to lose and something to gain, no matter the choice. The good strategy for success is to approach the adventures with the intent to simply survive rather than become a hero. Don't go on dangerous endeavors if you're not confident in your success, as you may be severely punished for unpreparedness. Severely punished, that's a pseudonym for die horrifically. Some quests will fail, some characters you meet will grow to hate or despise you, and sometimes you'll have to flee from a battle in order to save your life. Don't let these things bother you too much, as your real goal is to make it to the very end in one piece. And last but not least, remember to keep track of time. Training, shopping, adventuring, completing quests will all consume it. Neglect one too much in favor of the others, and you're in for unpleasant surprises. All right, you have received a salary in accordance with your rank, plus 55 florins. We got a bonus of nothing. Here we go. We're in. The game is now here. Marvel at the glory of those graphics. That's about what you're going to get through the rest of the game, other than the silly waifu, the silly waifu portraits of the chicks they want you to romance. Okay, so gameplay proper. Let me give you a brief description of the overall gameplay. There is an overarching set storyline that takes us through the war that is divided up into chapters. Each chapter is going to have a few specific predetermined events that are going to occur and will occur in every single run. They're like hard nodes in history that we have to hit. Certain beats are always going to happen. Now, within a chapter, in addition to those preset events, there are going to be randomized events. There's just a certain type and a certain number. It rolls dice, and sometimes you hit with a random thing that'll happen. Now, through the normal course of a chapter's gameplay, there's a little bar up at the top here, this green bar, showing your location and time till the next story event. This bar will deplete as you take actions. Any action you take in this kind of camp mode is going to use up a certain number of time units of this bar. I think it's like 45 or 50 or 60 time units each chapter. It varies by chapter. And most of these things that we're going to do here take up 1 to 3 time units. So we're limited in how much training we can do, how much trading we can do, camp position stuff, crafting, doing quests and traveling here, and so on. So we're going to be doing different things and selecting different options in order to try to advance our character as much as possible. But we have a limit to how many of those things we can do, and it's up to us to optimize our way through the available time units and best prepare the character for what's coming. So that's kind of the flow for this camp management portion. Now we're going to get into fights fairly often, and we'll get one here pretty soon. You'll see what it looks like. But it looks from the research I've done to be pretty crunchy. It's got quite a bit to it in regards to the combat portion and what skills you have, what attributes, what weapon, armor, item combinations you use, and then the way the combat fights, you'll kind of see. So things to do. I don't know. I haven't played it a lot myself yet, or pretty much any. But I've read a little bit about what's going on. So let's click on each of these so you can kind of get an idea. So if we hit train, through training you can improve the various skills and attributes of your character. Keep in mind that training both consumes time and rapidly builds up fatigue. If you do not want to start the battle in a disadvantageous position, then do not forget to properly rest. So a lot of the training stuff is going to build up fatigue. Here's our fatigue meter. It's going to fill up as we build fatigue. And then we have to make sure we do other activities to rest, to relieve or reduce that fatigue. And we want to get it back to 0 if we can before any fights occur, because you carry your fatigue rating over both while in combat coming back to camp and when in camp going into combat. The fatigue follows each direction. So here, this little portrait is used, and it'll be positioned in different places depending on what screen we're on. But the picture itself and then the info blurb here gives you an idea of the level of fatigue. There's both fatigue tracking and stamina tracking. They're two different things, but fatigue does influence stamina, how much you can use and how quickly it regenerates during combat. But realize fatigue and stamina are separate. So you want to, as much as possible, keep your fatigue as low as possible. It's at fresh 1 currently, which is the best condition. It will build up fresh 1, and then level 2 is called something else. Level 3 is called something else. And eventually you'll be winded and then totally out of it. You won't be able to get much done. So it's critical to manage your fatigue as well as your stamina rating, both in camp as well as in the combat. So that's probably one of the most important things to learn and to know and how to manage it. All right, so it shows our stats. It shows training options. I can actually click on this and it will increase this by 1 point, and we'll use up some time and we'll build up from some fatigue. So depending on whether I'm doing physical workouts to raise stats here or doing practice, or doing crossbow practice, solo practice, sparring with somebody else, or training with a coach, paying money and having a certain reputation or whatever thing they check to let you do it. You get better results, but it has more costs involved. So cost 50 florins, moderately exhausted. Skill limit of 20, moderately exhausting. And then solo practice, skill limit of 10, very exhausting. So lots of different things going on here. Now, there's going to be a lot of events where it's going to roll dice against your stats. So it will do like a luck check, and it'll check your luck stat and see if you pass or not. Or it'll do an agility check. So I don't know the events that are coming, and I don't know what minimum numbers I might need to meet certain thresholds for victory or automatic defeat. That's something we're going to have to learn as we go. So I'm sure with time and knowledge, it'll be a little easier to deal with, especially some of the earlier events. But we're going to be repeating this early cycle quite often as we roguelite our way, fail forward, try, die, try, die, try, die. So, hopefully we'll start to memorize some of the early game stuff. Okay, so let's just do a couple of these real quick, and we'll see how things build up, and then we'll look at a few of the other spots. So let's just do physical workouts first before I do weapon training. So I'm going to say I want to get some strength. Give me to 5 strength. Now we've just about got our bar maxed out. We're all kind of fatigued out, and we've used that much of our current time frame. So let's go ahead and bounce out of here, go to the rest option. So we've got socialize and activities. Activities is where we can choose different things to recover. Basically, it's just leisure time activities. We can just hang around and shoot the breeze with the other soldiers. We can do some gambling, some drinking, or some praying. There are positive and negative reasons to do various things. I don't know them all yet, and I'm not going to go into them. We're mostly going to either hang around or gamble. So I'm going to do one of each right now, and we'll see what kind of progress we make. So hang around. We spend some time hanging out and wandering around, and it lowered it a bit. Let's try some gambling. Actually, let's go to inventory first. For a reason. Let's jump over to inventory. So let's go ahead and equip the axe, equip the shield, equip the hat. Yeah, equip all that stuff. Alright, so we put the bandages inside the pouch. But otherwise, we've got our axe. Oops. We've got our hand axe. It's got damage of 7. Regular attack uses 10 stamina. Special uses 14. It is length 1. Length matters in combat. Longer weapons will have an advantage for to hit numbers. Has no prestige attached to it. It's not fancy and make me look better with the friends and the allies and the ladies. It's a one-handed weapon. Requires strength 2, agility 1. And it has these special attacks. It has the axe chop, the regular attack, the split shield, shield breaking attack, amplifies attack damage by your full strength plus 10. That's one of the big reasons I took the axe as our starting newbie weapon and kind of learned the game weapon. Breaking shields is super important, which we'll see when we get into combat. And then there's the overhead strike. Attack damage is amplified by 1/3 of your strength. All right, so then we've got our shield, poor man's shield, 35 durability, provides 45 shield cover, which I think that's a percent on whether it's going to block or not. It does provide a coordination penalty of 1, so we're getting -1 to our coordination stat because we have this particular thing equipped. Always important to know if you're going to get lower on any of the stats. You want, high durability and low negatives if possible. And then again, 2-1 for that. It's also worth 40 florins. And then the hat over here, the rusty ancient helmet. Helmet armor is 10, head coverage is 80. My understanding is this is damage reduction. This is percentage chance that it will block the blow. So it's a pretty full helm. It's going to block 80% of the time for 10 protection value. And it also provides 5 for neck armor but only 20% neck coverage. And it has a lot of penalties. We might not wear this, actually. That's a lot of negatives for what it's doing. I might pull that back off again. Yeah, let's pull that back off again. All right. So, yeah, we can see some detailed information here. I'm not sure why this doesn't show what I've got currently equipped for. I guess I'm not wearing any armor. The shield doesn't really count. It's not in that section. Let's put that back on for a second. Yep, there we go. Neck armor, neck coverage, head armor, head coverage. All right, so that's a good synopsis. Can I double click to remove it? Is it the X to remove it? It is the X. All right, so there you go. And then you have to have a pouch to hold consumables of some kind. So lots of other things. Helmet, neck, chest, legs, and arms. So those are the armor positions. The reason I wanted to come here is I wanted to show that and double check that, but then I want to go, let's go to the trading screen real quick before we start doing some of this rest option. Searching for available trade offers will consume some of your time and produce several options. You can perform this action multiple times to find more items for sale. All right, so it's used a little time already to generate this list of things for us to look at buying. We can just re-roll directly, or we can leave the screen and come back another time to essentially re-roll again. Actually, I think it saves the list until you re-roll once you've been here, something like that. We'll see. I'm gonna go ahead and sell the ancient helmet. What do we got? Leather bracers, bonus item luck. Really? Leather bracers that improve the wearer's hand grip. So an agility penalty, limbs coverage, 4 points of armor, 15% coverage, which is pretty light. So a lot of things have not hidden attributes, but they give you additional attributes or abilities you want to be careful of. I don't know the list of everything yet, but, you know, I know the cross pendant is important for certain reasons. It has a virtue bonus, a vitality bonus, and you get additional bonuses when you're above certain virtue levels. Also used, I think, on one of the missions. Heck yeah, remove the helmet. You got it. Especially if it's a stupid helmet that makes you blind and clumsy and is heavy. Not saying don't put on a helmet, just don't put on a stupid helmet. Okay, I didn't see, so we got sewing kit down here for crafting, Fletcher's tools and other crafting specific items, some raw materials for crafting. Wine bottle would be nice. So wine bottle, consuming alcohol, good way to relieve stress and fatigue. Can be done both inside and outside of battle. The latter, however, might bring along some side effects. You can get drunk, instantly recovers 30 fatigue in battle. Lowers duration of bleeding and light poison by 1. So those are the two things that are important for combat purposes, and temporarily boosts vitality by 2. So won't get into that quite yet. I don't see what I was looking for. I'm going to hit reroll. We got a scabbard. Ooh, leather armor. Commoner's belt. More ale. And more of the crafting things. This is probably too much for us right now. Cost 65. Torso armor, torso coverage, limbs, no neck coverage, but pretty good armor for torso for protection and coverage. But we only have 65 exactly, so. All right, let's go ahead and bounce out. I was hoping to get lucky dice or something that would help us with our gambling rolls. Let's go back to camp activities. Yeah, we already know about that. So let's hit gamble. We won 3 florins, and it did a pretty good job of lowering our value there. We lost 3, and we lost 4, and we won 3. I think we're -1 for that round, but it cleared our points pretty effectively. All right, so socialize. We can go talk to the sergeant, the earl, or the blacksmith. There's reasons for each of those. Let's go ahead and talk to the blacksmith. Who are you? What do you need? Looking for a blacksmith. All right, spit it out or get lost. I need to repair my equipment. Nope, you're not my personal blacksmith. Willing to pay for a job well done. You do 3 shifts at the forge to help me out, and I'll take a look at your junk. I'll pay you for every shift, too. If your hands aren't actually growing out of your ass, you might even earn some decent coin. So they've added a quest, Laborer. Working at the forge is a camp activity that acts as a temporary part-time job. Unlike other activities, this one increases your fatigue instead of lowering it. However, forge duty increases your craftsmanship and earns you some money, with the amount depending on your craftsmanship. Working at the forge has been added to your camp activities. All right, so we have camp activities, working at the forge available now. I don't know if I want to do that for this first run, though. Let's go ahead and go back, and yeah, we're ready to train some more. So train, trade. We haven't done camp physician. We don't really need to interact there quite yet. That's going to be one of the first places, I believe, we are introduced to the first lady. We can check our character info. So it looks similar to the character generation screen. Shows what active effects and fatigue we've got going on. Our reputation with soldiers and the Earl. Our army rank. We're an auxiliary. I want to get my agility up a bit. And, you know, all the things. We want all the things to go up. But there is specifically a craftsmanship level. And we have very little in the way of weapon skills. There's also talents, both weapon and civic talents. So weapon, pretty obvious. It's got a little tree that you can kind of work your way down to gain points. I don't know if you have to take them in order or if you can pick anywhere you want. But there's 4 different primary weapon categories: swords, axes, maces, and polearms. There's reasons why you would use each one. They seem to be fairly well implemented and have particular reasons you might go one way or another. We'll explore them as we go through the different runs. For now, we're just going to kind of stick to the axe category. So lower stamina consumption of the primary attack by 1, lower stamina of the secondary, increase hit chance by 5, and then a bunch of choices. Chance of a crit strike. So you get the idea. So back out of here. And then civic talents, I think we can't look at it until we earn a point. Oh, there it is. It was weird, it didn't come up. So a bunch of things. They're like little special abilities. So if you pick musician, increases the amount of fatigue recovered by playing the lute. Using the lute in combat would additionally lower your fatigue by the number equal to your coordination. There are occasional lulls in the combat, which is, I think, when you would be playing your lute, not actually during a fight. But yeah, so herbsman, huntsman, haggler, you can get the idea what they're probably going to do just from the names. So it's fairly straightforward. So we'll look for opportunities for that. All right, let's get back to doing stuff. So back, what else? We're not doing crafting right now. There is a quest and travel system. Right now we have the laborer quest. You can just come here to get details and such. And then you can hit travel to get a map, and if you have quests for certain areas, you click on the map area and it'll take you to that location. We can do heists and we can scavenge, 2 other activities we're not going to do immediately. All right, there you go. So let's do some more training. Let's get agility. 2 points of that, and I would love some endurance. And we don't have the, oh, we do have enough. We've maxed out our points. Back to camp activities, and ooh, that was a big loss. All right, having spent a bit of time in the camp, you gradually get to know and make friends with various people, including several other young men drafted for the militia. All of you have quite a lot in common, including the fact that, originating from poor families, you were forced to go to war without anything, even remotely, resembling decent weapons or armor. One of the guys, going by the name Bartholomew, is having a rather shady past. Suggests you fix this situation and prevent you with a plan. His idea is to borrow the necessary equipment from someone who is not in such a dire need as you. The guards of Castle Dunkirk that is towering above your camp. According to Bartholomew, the men guarding the castle are guards in name only. They have been drafted from the surrounding countryside just as the war started, and they can barely tell which side of the halberd goes towards the enemy. Security is as bad as it gets, so sneaking into one of the armories in the far tower should be a piece of cake. Everything else will be figured out on site. Bartholomew claims he will take care of any locks that could be found there, so you just have to grab and carry away as much armor and weapons as you please. Several soldiers are rather impressed and willing to try. They already plan to pull it off this night. Yeah, heck yeah. You and several other soldiers are willing to take part. Bartholomew insists you don't dilly-dally and go at midnight. You agree to meet at the watchtower. Virtue is lowered by 10. Reputation with soldiers increased by 3. New quest added, Castle Heist. You've just received your first quest. All active quests and their descriptions are listed in the quests and travel section. We want to get that taken care of. I don't know how critical the timing is, though. I want to get 5 agility. Then back to gamble. We are losing tons of money. Alright. Let's go ahead and do the quest. Castle Heist. Do I have to wait for the timer to start? I'm going to guess. I can't... is it from the quest or the travel screen? Oh, it's the travel screen. Here we go. Take me to the watchtower. As agreed, you depart from the camp and arrive at the farthest watchtower at midnight. Bartholomew and a couple of other soldiers are already waiting for you there. Bartholomew, clearly skilled in the local geography, confidently leads you along a hidden path through a ravine and dense thickets of bushes. After about a quarter of an hour this way, you finally let yourself into the tower through a secret entrance. Inside, Bartholomew once again instructs you, forbidding you to make any sounds and requiring you to move completely silently. Trying to find the weapons room in the endless maze of passages, doors, and stairs that represent the interior of the tower, you find yourself on the creaking plank floor of one of the galleries. One by one, your comrades manage to carefully walk on it without making any unnecessary sounds. It's your turn now. Gently stepping on the boards with the grace of a domestic cat, you overcome the obstacle without any problems. Agility check passed. I knew I needed that agility. After another quarter of an hour of strenuous wanderings and games of hide and seek with sleepy guards, you finally manage to reach the cherished armory. While you and 2 comrades are watching the situation, Bartholomew is busy with the lock. You're starting to get worried, but a couple of minutes later, he draws your attention with a low whistle and, smiling, invites you with a gesture to the now open door. The choice of weapons and equipment that awaits you inside turns out to be not very impressive, but it still looks very solid. Ah, pike. Ooh, a buckler. Ooh. 100 durability, 25 with 5 prestige, and no negatives. 155 value. Hell yeah, give me that. I'll take the kettle hat too. Helmet armor 12, coverage of 60, which is nice. Also 3 prestige. Does have some penalties we'd have to deal with. So we've got a set number of inventory space based on our strength. We can grab everything. I'm just kind of taking a look at things. So the Rondell dagger is actually a trinket. We have slots for 3, 4, I forget. We have a certain number of trinket slots. This is where most of our gear is going to constantly be being swapped back and forth. They're basically bonuses for various things. Can be used as Fletcher's tool. Can be used in combat to break enemy armor and deal damage. Requires target to be fainted, stunned, or out of stamina. Recharge time, damage to armor. Okay. And the short pike. Handy, versatile, and very effective in all types of combat. Pikes are one of the most common weapons on the battlefield. It is one-handed. It's not going to have the shield break, though. So it's got spear thrust, powerful thrust, feint strike, ignore shields, requires weapon to be held with both hands, and then keep at bay. Hit chances increased with weapon length. Enemy stamina is drained. Weapon length of 5 compared to our axe that has a 1. That's a pretty good haul. Now we just gotta have to see if we can make it out of here. Having picked up everything that you liked, you hastily embark on the return journey. Luck seems to be smiling at you, and the journey back goes without incident. But suddenly, in the dark corridor, one of the doors opens before your nose, and you find yourself face to face with a guard emerging from there. Hardly making out your outlines in the dark, he asks who's in front of him. You don't really know what to do now and glance at Bartholomew and his comrades, who have gone a little ahead. They are desperately signaling something to you with their hands, but you cannot distinguish their gestures in the dark. The situation quickly becomes critical. Run or try to stun. So 5 strength. I think I'm going to go with the stun. I think 5 strength is fairly good for super early in the gameplay. So let's try for a stun. Realizing how desperate your situation is, you make a decision that seems to you to be the only right one, and gathering all your strength into a fist, land a sweeping hook to the jaw for the guard. Perhaps from your epic strength, or perhaps simply from the sudden drowsiness, the guard falls to the ground like a bag, and you headlong rush to flee. Strength check passed. Running for your dear life away from the tower, you cannot get rid of the feeling that they are already chasing you, and you are about to be caught. But when, after a few minutes, you finally find yourself outside by the ravine, you are surprised to realize that the silence around you at night is not disturbed by anything except your own heavy breathing. Bartholomew pats you on the shoulder with a friendly grin, praising your determination. He also adds something about the good old days, but you don't quite understand what he is talking about. Safely returning to the camp, you fall asleep, thinking about the adventures you have just experienced and realizing you may have just made new good friends. Another reputation bump for the soldiers, up 5, and Bartholomew officially becomes our friend, which I think has, it does have further consequences down the line. XP for completing the quest plus 20. All right, we're back. We're almost out of time for the prologue section. So what can I get with that done with that remaining time? We brought back stuff. Let's go look at our character inventory. So this hat we're going to wear. This is a good hat. Oh, wait. Oh, yeah. Prestige 3. Agility and coordination penalty. Can I wear it yet? We're going to remove that shield to equip the buckler. Not going to switch weapons, I don't think. And the kettle hat. Alright, sure. Let's, I think I'm going to sell the short pike and the rondelle dagger. I don't think I'm going to use either of those in this very first run. Use up a little bit of our time. Alright, goodbye short pike, goodbye dagger, goodbye old shield. We're at 118. I don't see a septic bandage. Single-use bandage capable of stopping light to medium bleed and counteracting effects of certain poisons. Cost 50. Ooh, never mind. What do you do, bronze ring? Ooh, strength, agility, and prestige. For 40? Sure. Let's buy the bronze ring. Poisoned feast knife. Low virtue. Would love to get some water or something so we can refresh our stamina. I don't think we're going to get any before this first section change. Alright, we're out. Tiny bit of time left. Let's train coordination just to counteract that negative we're going to take. And I don't know if we'll have enough time for agility training and recovery. Gambling sucks when you have no skills and traits. Alright, let's go talk to the physician real quick. Injuries, no injuries. Nothing else going on here? Apparently not. Talk. I'm not a foreign girl. She loses interest in you. Cecilia. Do we lie? Let's not lie for now. Relationship lowered by 1. Schnob. Yep, got it. All right, well, there you go. That's Cecilia. I know there's some ways, I don't know which interaction points there are, but there's ways you can do things that will improve your relationship and lower the costs that you'll have to pay to get healing done. We'll see if we can find some of those ways at some point. The timer is about done. Let's just... don't want to trade. I guess we could look at the trade screen one more time. Beer mug, a whip, throwing knife. No, I don't want to spend that much yet. Coin pouch showed up. Hey, the dice showed up. Yes, please. Playing dice. So these are the trinket slots down here. So we're going to equip and equip. So now we have the playing dice. Will give you an advantage in gambling. Agility +1. And then we've got our strength, agility, and prestige bonus off of our bronze ring. So you'll constantly, I believe, be swapping these things around from a collection depending on the circumstances and what you're trying to do. Alright, so we're short 1 trinket. Alright, next storyline. There we go. Proceed. After spending about a week at Castle Dunkirk, the army eventually begins its march to the southwest. Your regiment has been assigned to the advanced guard led by the king's son, Edward of Woodstock, the prince. With about half a day's march separating him from the main force, Edward's main goal is to scout ahead and make sure that there are no major French reinforcements in sight. Arriving at Cambrai, you see a large French convoy with supplies that is entering through the main gates. The town obviously has not been prepared to handle a long siege yet and stands vulnerable. The young prince, eager to prove himself to his father, chooses a daring move to try and take the city by charging through the yet open gates. Time is of the essence, so Edward leads the attack immediately. Okay, prepare for battle. I'm not sure what we could actually change here. I guess we could swap gear and such out right now. We don't have anything to swap or to change, so let's go ahead and proceed. Concealed by the forest surrounding Cambrai, the English managed to get close enough to catch the defenders by surprise. The prince spearheads the cavalry charge forward, crushing everything under them and breaking into the city. You and your fellow militiamen try to follow in their tracks as fast as you can, but the difference in speed is just too great. By the time you have finally got to the gates, there's already a large group of enemy soldiers, guards, and militiamen gathering to block your way. Alright, welcome to the war! We're finally at the part where we fight something. Very soon you'll have to shed your first blood, but before you do this, it would be wise to get acquainted with the main principles of Heads, Will, Roll's combat system. I'm going to say no. I've done enough research. I think I know what's going on, and I think I can mostly explain it, so I'm going to say no to that. Alright, interface stuff. So this is my opponent. His info's up top. My info's down below. Shows what gear we've got and the stats. We've got 35 health, 39 stamina. Not fatigue, but stamina. This is our fatigue info. We're at fresh level 1 with 0 out of 39 fatigue. And we have 39 total stamina. We can check our stats, look at the contents of our pouch, and then we pick what options we want to do. Attack, pretty straightforward. We'll have a few options. Try to feint, which is going to try to throw them off balance and possibly drain their stamina. Do a shield attack, which is shield bash, stuff like that. This is the stance indicator. There's 3 settings, I believe: offense, balanced, and defense. So defense, balanced, and offense. There's reasons why you'll want to be in each. I'm going to leave it on balance for the moment. You can attempt to recover, which is basically recover your stamina. So you just kind of stand back a little bit and just try to regain stamina without being too active. Look at items and respite. This increases for various reasons, and it's something you can spend to recover this fatigue. So respite is used to get this down, whereas recover is used to get your stamina back. A large part of the combat system appears to be fatigue and stamina management. You basically want to let them tire themselves out. The difference between their stamina and your stamina is going to have a large impact on the to-hit chances. You let them tire themselves out. When they go low stamina, you then switch to offensive mode and try to get a strong strike or 2 in. Then they're going to be recovering, and it'll kind of reverse. You go to defensive mode and try to turtle up until they win themselves again. And then the advantage for the player seems to be, from what I've learned so far, the respite and fatigue recovery. I don't think the bad guys that you fight against ever do fatigue recovery. So the more time passes, if you can minimize damage to yourself, you're going to have a larger and larger bonus towards fighting them or killing them. Now, other important things to know. This is round 1. There's a limited number of rounds that are going to occur before the battle is over. So it is possible that he and I could just be banging away on each other's shields for 25 rounds, nobody kills anybody, and the battle ends. Obviously, we want to try to conquer and, gain rep and gain loot and things like that. So we'll do it our best. But depending on the fight you're in and the round number that you're on, you got to be careful, because you can kill this guy. Say I get a couple lucky blows early and I kill him. A brand new guy will step into his place and will begin fighting me immediately, whatever fatigue and stamina level I'm at. So super important to be careful not to completely tap out, max your fatigue and tap out your stamina on a killing blow of an enemy, only to have a brand new fresh enemy show up and just literally chop you up because you're totally winded and out. So I don't know which combats are going to have additional opponents and so on, so we're going to play pretty cautious and pretty defensive initially while we get things figured out. There's his fatigue status, his health, his stamina, and I can click on him to get more details on his gear. So he's using a rusty sword and an improvised shield, so pretty bare bones. He doesn't have any armor to speak of, so head and neck shots would be pretty good if we can manage them. He's got 7 strength, though. He's a little stronger than me. Maybe we're equal to him. What are my stats now? We're up to 6 strength, 6 agility, with only 1 weapon skill on our side. So he's 7-3 with 2 weapon skill. So we're pretty evenly matched. I think we've got slightly better gear than he does, and we've got a little bit of armor. But otherwise, it's a pretty close match. All right, so we get to choose first. I'm going to go with a shield. No, I'm not going to go with a shield. Well, I could. I could do a shield bash. 86% chance. Stamina drained is going to be 10 plus strength divided by 2. Stun chance of 33%. Miss penalty of 5. We throw ourselves off balance, basically, if we miss the shield bash. 15 stamina cost, 10 miss penalty. We could cower. We could drop the shield. We're going to switch back, do an attack, split shield. That's what I want to do. I want to break his shield as quick as possible. So, shield breaking attack amplifies attack damage by your full strength, plus 10, 14 stamina cost, which is the green bar here. 39%. That's not great, actually. Do we wait or do we try to fire this off? I think he'll go for the shield bash. Much higher percentage. The big thing here is mostly just to reduce his stamina, with the benefit also of a stun chance. So let's go for the shield bash. Success! Minus 13, minus 6. He got knocked down. Oh, you got to be kidding me. Very first swing, very first opponent, lowest level guy possible to fight, and he gets a successful hit after I shield bashed and knocked him down, and he poisoned me. It's going to be one of those games, is it? Injury chance increased by 10. Incoming damage increased by 1. That's hilarious. Is there a combat log? I don't remember seeing a combat log. Yeah, I don't remember seeing a combat log. He's at fatigue 30. Oh, that sucks. Hilarious. Hilarious. Successful. Really strong shield bash. Only have to have that follow up. All right. Now, notice his stamina is way low. So I'm going to go to an offensive stance. Do the attack and the split shield. 94% this time. Didn't quite break it. He did the recover action to bring his stamina back up. Now I need to go back to defensive stance. And I'm going to recover as well. We blocked with our shield. He's really low stamina, but I'm going to recover one more time. Oof. He failed and reduced his recovery. Yeah, 25 out of 29. Attack, split shield. Cool. Shield's gone. No more shield for you. I got to remember to switch my stance back and forth when we do certain things. All right, what are we at? So now we're winded. We're at level 2. So I am going to do respite. You gain points by certain, I think, offensive actions. I don't know all the rules for how the respite points get earned. But we're going to go into respite mode to try to get this down again. So, spend one of those. He missed. He's pretty low. He's going to recover a couple of times. I'm going to recover. I'm going to respite again. There are limits to how many times you can just kind of turtle up and protect. You'll eventually start getting negatives for being a coward and lose rep with the other soldiers and things like that. So you can't just recover respite infinitely through all the rounds. You want to be a little cautious about how much of that you do. We managed to get back to fresh, but we're still right at the border. We're only 4 points away from increasing that again. So let's respite one more time. He's probably going to recover again. Yeah, he recovered again. He might attack on the next one. Now we'll recover. He missed a head slash. Recover one more time. All right. Swing again, you bum. So we got a pretty good stamina advantage over him. We're fresh again. Not for long, but we are fresh again. So if we say offensive stance, attack, chop, then we get a choice of body part. So body is the easiest to hit. It's the largest target, but it's also the one most likely to be armored by the opponent or protected in some way. So it's showing me two different things here. Chance to hit and chance to bypass armor. It's 100% for everything on the bottom number because he's not wearing any armor. He only had a shield and nothing else. Ignore the picture. His actual equipment is no armor. So that's why it's 100% on the bypass armor, because he doesn't have any. Neck and head are very good to hit. I don't think we have quite enough that I want to do that. Let's go for a limb shot. I think this benefits making him even more tired, forcing him to try to block and be active in defense. He's up to winded 3, and if he does anything active, he's going to go to 4th level, and we're going to be able to tear him apart. So time is on our side. Let's go ahead and do a limb attack. Hit. We got 6 damage. We increased his fatigue. Oh, we broke his leg. Agility reduced by 3. Well, that's good. He's going to have a much harder time dodging. All right, things are going well other than that first strike we took. He is at 3. He's 25 away from the 4th fatigue level. He's zeroed out on stamina, though. Ah, man, do I take an attack now? Ooh. we're going to have a really good chance. Oh. Oh. Overhead strike to the head. Bam-o. 18 points. All right. We need to recover ourself now. We're at winded 2. Let's do respite first. Uh-oh. He's going to have an attack coming in probably next turn. Back to defense stance. Balance is, from the little I remember, I think balance stance is what you want to be in if you anticipate feints being sent your way. Being in a balanced stance is good in a feint circumstance. Whereas if you're in, I think, offense or defense, you have like a negative to a feint, and you lose more fatigue you get feinted basically, and you try to deal with a pretend attack, and you lose stamina. Let's go recover. Gotta get that number up. Yep, coming in. Good job, shield. Let's recover again. We're at winded 2. We only need... I'm going to let him attack again, and then we're going to go for a big hit. So let's do respite again. Oh, he recovered again. You bastard. Let's try a shield bash. Knocked down. His turn. He recovered. Oh, man, he did a good recovery. He's on his last legs, and he still managed to recovering stamina pretty quick. That surprises me. Round 18. All I'm concerned with, I do want to finish this guy. Oh, there we go. There's the opportunity we're looking for. I'm not sure we can do enough in one blow. Maybe with that overhand strike again. Or overhead strike. 98%. There he goes. Down he goes. Now we're going to get a new guy. We did not get a new guy. Oh, we did get a new guy. Damn it. And immediately get crushed. I should have waited. I should have rope-a-doped him for another 4 or 5 rounds. Because now we're in trouble. I'm tired 3, low stamina. He's completely fresh, so that was a big mistake. They don't do anything to teach you this. The interface, the tutorial does not mention this is going to happen. not even slightly. It's such a massive part of the gameplay and the combat experience. It boggles my mind that they don't even mention this is going to happen. I bet you 99% of the players go, woohoo, I won, give me my rewards. Oh shit, and then get chopped up. We're just going to have to defend our way through, hopefully, 5 rounds and stay alive. So we're at respite 7. Still got our shield, but didn't do us any good with that fight. Tired 3. We're not going to recover much at tired 3. Well, hopefully we don't get chopped up. Enemy formation is crumbling. Battle might come soon. Might be soon coming to an end. God damn it. Not soon enough. Hilarious. Okay. So, unfortunately, there's still a big mix match. He now at least has low stamina also. So, hopefully, he'll have to recover. Oh, look at all that recovery. Must be nice being fresh. Ugh. Yeah, we might not survive. Every single hit? Come on. We were way over him in stamina. Well, we were maybe at parity or slightly over. This is ridiculous. And now we're bleeding. We're going to die to bleeding before the thing ends. Do I bother? Do I use? I got to use my item. This pisses me off. I am in offensive stance. I screwed that up. I did make a mistake there. I should have switched back to defense. Do we shield bash him to keep his stamina low? What are the chances? Terrible chances. So, there you go. Little pop-up button. Offensive increases melee weapon hit chance by 1% of your weapon skill, but lowers the chance to evade or shield block enemy attacks, very susceptible to enemy feints. Defensive stance increases the chance to evade or shield block enemy attacks, but lowers your own melee weapon hit chance, susceptible to feints. Provides no offense or defense bonuses, least susceptible to feints. So yeah, that's what I talked about earlier. So yeah, I already know that I had it in offense. Still annoying. But, you know, first run, I'll go through the second attempt a heck of a lot faster now that I've done all the intro stuff for you fine folks. Defensive stance, and I'm just going to recover. If he hits us, he hits us. We got 2 rounds to get through. He missed. He zeroed out. I think we'll survive now because it's going to take him... He's winded too. It's going to take him at least 2 recovers probably. So we cannot kill him in any way. So I'm just going to keep recovering. Now let's respite this one. Come on, end the thing. Don't let him swing again. We survived. Unable to sustain your attack, the enemies are slowly giving in and soon begin to hastily retreat. With a pause in the action, you take a look around and see several bodies of your dead foes. Looting, especially during active combat, is generally frowned upon in the army. This, however, does not deter many soldiers, predominantly from poorer backgrounds, from pillaging their rivals' corpses. Their motives are easy to understand. In war, even a single piece of good equipment can make the difference between life and death. So, I don't think there's a second round of this particular combat. So I'm going to go ahead and search. Coin pouch and a cross pendant. We got plenty of space. Oh, well, I was wrong. Or is this misleading? I don't have anything to swap out, really. None of that's going to make a difference. Due to the confusion, you manage to overcome the poorly organized defenders in a swift and rather hectic fight. Their tactical retreat into the walls quickly escalates to a chaotic rout. You storm into the town proper, hot on their heels. Inside the walls, however, the situation is already changing. The prince's knights are struggling to hold against the superior numbers of the French, and slowly but surely are falling back towards the main gates. The prince could definitely use some infantry support, but rushing to his aid may prove to be a dangerous undertaking. Not willing to leave Prince Edward in danger, the Earl quickly calls for volunteers to join the rescue effort. The rest are told to hold the city gates for a safe retreat thereafter. It seems only seasoned and fierce warriors are joining the Earl. It's unlikely someone will point a finger at you if you refuse. Especially given you're wounded and exhausted, barely able to even stand straight. Clearly a good opportunity to prove yourself to the Earl, maybe even to the Prince himself, but right now on the other side of the scale lies no less than your life, and the question is whether or not this is the time to risk it. No. We are in no shape. Stay at the gates. Earl and the volunteers arrive just in time to prevent the French from encircling the prince's retinue. The combined force of the two groups was just enough to fight their way back to the gates. The battered town defenders hesitate to give chase and instead settle with status quo restored. As you fall back to safety and catch your breath, you're slowly filled with a proud realization that you've just managed to survive your first battle. While you come back to your senses and tend your wounds, the main force of the English army is steadily approaching the city. Columns of people, horsemen and wagons, all stretching for several miles, flow from the horizon like an endless river, slowly pouring around the city from all sides. Having found the sergeant among the survivors, you ask him what will happen now. He responds with only one word. Siege? Siege.